Welcome back to Stay Hot. I'm Matthew Sponhour, as always, joined by Blaiden, Kirk, and Theo Ash. Blaiden, Kirk, and Theo Ash, how are you doing?
I'm doing wonderful, man.
I'm doing good. I've committed to having a Stay Hot summer per the branding, and I just started working at a strawberry farm during a record heat wave, and I just got off my shift in the morning there, and now I'm here talking about. Well, I was talking about football there. The patriarch of the Berry family that runs the whole thing was giving me some very interesting football takes that I could talk to you guys about.
Oh, God.
Would you like to hear them?
I'm almost curious. Are they bad?
They're very lofty. They're very lofty, and they're mostly having to do with the Buccaneers.
Okay,
he told me So I got done working. I was hoeing a field of all the weeds, and I was on an asparagus machine cutting blossoms. And I get done with doing that, and I'm on the porch of the house of the people who run this berry farm. And then, you know, the older guy who lives there, I don't know how old he is. He's like grandpa aged. He's the patriarch, and he's telling me about the Buccaneers and how they're the greatest team ever assembled. And he's like, Vegas has them as there's a 99.5% chance that they go undefeated. They have the greatest offensive line ever, the greatest quarterback, secondary, and wide receiving core. They're favored by 14 points in every game. He was just going on and on about how the Buccaneers are going to shatter every record this year, and it's not even going to be close. That was his big take is about the Buccaneers. What do you guys think?
Not sure how I feel about that.
I'm going to go with yikes.
I mean, it's tough to disagree with him because he's like, they have such a great offensive line and quarterback and wide receiving core. And they do. I can't be like,
a 99% chance this is like undefeated.
This is like the Blaiden Saints going 0-16 take.
It is. It's a little bit exaggerated, but I mean, they are pretty stacked. And it's like, the more I hear him talk, the more he's kind of convincing me. So maybe they will win every game by 14 points, but I can't really disagree with him because like I kind of need him to like me. I don't want to be like, yeah, that's dead wrong, Grandpa.
Like, no, understandable.
Anyway,
you heard it here first. Theo was hoeing.
I was hoeing the fields. Yes. There's no better way to put it.
We're talking some Julio Jones trade today. Since that just happened, then we'll be talking about some of the NBA playoff games. He might be a little bit behind in some of the series. This is coming out tomorrow. I know we're going to talk about Nets Bucks game 1. And then in between this getting recorded and it coming out, Nets Bucks game 2 is going to be played. But we're going to talk about it anyway because I have a lot to say. But let's start off with the Julio trade. How are you guys feeling about this?
I know Theo feels like he played a huge role in it. I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. I know a lot of people thought that when the DeAndre Hopkins trade happened, that the Texans didn't get enough back for him. And now that we've seen another kind of top tier receiver get a very similar package, maybe we're just seeing that people don't value receivers that much in terms of trade value.
I would say that not my main takeaway, but I think the answer to that is a lot of people seem to think salary cap isn't real or that there's never any consequences to signing whoever you want. That is not true. The Falcons would prefer not to give away their legendary fan favorite, never been in any trouble. Everyone loves the guy, still elite wide receiver for a second round pick. The reason they had to do that is because they're bad and poor. And Julio Jones clears up a lot of cap space. Yeah. And everyone is always like, oh yeah, you can do whatever you want if you're a team. Cap space isn't real. It is real. And, you know, a lot of teams can work their magic and you know, finesse it, but you can't always do it. And Julio Jones is a symptom of bad cap management that's been happening in Atlanta, and they're paying the price right now. Now, from a football standpoint, I mean, I love it for the Titans. Matt, you're about to say something. I'll throw it to you.
And I feel like kind of in the same sense with the salary cap, the Titans aren't paying a second and a fourth. They're paying a second, a fourth, and $15 million for Julio Jones. Yeah. You have to take into account both. I know a lot of people are like, oh, I would have gotten more for Julio. No, you wouldn't have. No one's paying a first-round draft pick for a 31, 32-year-old wide receiver who's coming off an injury, who demanded a trade, who cost $15 million. And if somebody was willing to pay that, the Falcons would have gotten it.
Right.
So even as a Panthers fan, I just think the Falcons were more in a tough spot than some people are realizing with that move.
Yeah. And
I agree.
I think the league still views Julio. I don't think there is there might not be a player outside of maybe Mahomes, Aaron Donald, Rodgers, Brady, that the league and people in the league respect more than Julio Jones. I was just watching a big interview with Wade Phillips about everything. And they asked a question, how would you defend an elite wide receiver? And the name that he immediately said is a Julio Jones type. Like that was the name that brought up when he was thinking elite wide receiver. I know Larry Fitzgerald called Julio the best he'd ever seen. Jalen Ramsey tweeted like a second and a fourth is all it took for a guy like Julio. We'd be unstoppable. I don't know if there's a guy in the league that commands more respect still, or a wide receiver in the league that commands more respect still than Julio Jones. And, the Titans, I think if you're going to focus on one guy, roll like double teams over to one side or wherever you're going to do, that would probably still be to Julio's side. And I mean, that opens up a whole lot of stuff for AJ Brown that wouldn't have been opened up if Josh Reynolds was still on the other side. And I don't really know, the defense is questionable. Yes. But I mean, I don't know if there's going to be an offense better. They were a top 3 offense anyway last year with Corey Davis as
that Titans offense looks really, really talented.
Yeah.
I mean, I put out a tweet yesterday. I think it's comparable to the Nets as far as like a big 3, Julio, AJ Brown, Derrick Henry. And if you want to throw, Tannehill in that mix, you can, but I think they have all the talent to be a playoff team as far as offense goes.
It's not even just the talent, it's the physicality of those 3 guys. Those guys are going, I mean, how big and fast do you have to be to even attempt to cover that? And it's not like they have some fatal flaw. It's not like, okay, we've got these 3 guys.
And their line is good. Yeah.
Yeah. Their line is good.
And their quarterback is good. Yeah.
Like a good quarterback. Yeah.
They don't have flaws on offense right now.
No, I would agree. And with Reynolds really concerned me because what you can do is you can, what Wade Phillips was talking about when I watched him. He's like, what do you do when there's an elite wide receiver? He says, well, we put our best guy on the number 2 wide receiver, erase him, and then we focus on doubling the number 1 wide receiver. And that kind of takes them both out of the game. And that's now with Josh Reynolds, you can do that pretty easily. Like you can any number 1 corner can totally get rid of Josh Reynolds, most likely. Right. Now that's not, and that can totally, and there's no tight ends on the team that you can really trust right now. Maybe one of them emerges, but that passing game could have really been thrown off by that strategy, I think. And now that strategy is kind of out the window because, I mean, both of them, I think, can beat a double team and your number 1 corner mostly. So yeah,
and if they both happen to be on an off day, guess what? You can just run it with Derrick Henry behind that.
You're gonna have to stack. You're gonna have to stack the box and fit the run with max fit the run. You can't have gaps. Yeah. It's gonna be ridiculous, their offense. And I know we were saying the NFC. I know I said the Jaguars would win the division. And I said, the Titans. I
don't know, man.
The Titans are just gonna be a running game. They're gonna have a really good running game, and the passing game is gonna be in. The defense is gonna be in. I don't know. I think the Julio Jones trade totally changes that Titans team. I think that it's going to be worth what they paid for sure. So those are my overall thoughts on the trade.
Looking at it, I'm kind of surprised that nobody could match that. I'm kind of surprised. I fully believe that's the best offer they got, unless some sort of like NFC South team gave them that offer. They didn't care as long as it went to an AFC team, right?
Right.
But why didn't the team like the Colts match that?
I don't know.
The Colts need
right. I mean, that's not a high price for Julio Jones. They're bringing in a quarterback who kind of had a questionable season last year. Do they not? I guess maybe they don't have a second round draft pick.
Yeah,
next year.
They don't have a second rounder. I don't think
but you could still make it work. It's not like you need to have the second rounder next year.
You could have gone like a third
to match
and then
that
like
value.
Your first next
yeah,
year.
the Colts, I don't know. And I guess you could say with the Colts also, maybe if I were the Colts, I'd be going pretty run heavy with Wentz and the running backs that they have. So, and without the second round pick, maybe the Colts don't make so much sense. But I know I guess the Seahawks and the Rams don't have any draft picks anyway. But like the Packers, maybe Green Bay, they could have maybe.
I'm surprised the
done
Patriots.
Something there. Patriots could have.
Patriots, I get. The Patriots, I feel like already did what they wanted to do with weapons on offense.
Yeah, but you didn't expect Julio Jones to be on the market.
Yeah.
Well, true. I think that's part of the reason why he went for so little. Every team already made their plans for if this was 3 months ago, if this was before the draft, before free agency, they'd probably get a first round draft pick for him. But since this happened at the worst possible time where every team's already filled or at least tried to fill the holes that they have on their roster, particularly a wide receiver, then it's going to be hard for somebody to assets.
Yeah.
You can only really give it to the teams that didn't figure out their wide receiver position,
which was Tennessee. Everyone kind of thought they'd go with Elijah Moore was the one that I mocked into. That was the most common thing, and they didn't do anything at the position. So yeah, Tennessee always made sense. That's for those who haven't seen the TikTok that I made. I said that I thought he would go to Tennessee. Blue Wire made a graphic that photoshopped him in a Tennessee uniform. AJ Brown, the Titans wide receiver, made a TikTok using our background to recruit Julio Jones, which looks to have worked. So we did it. We like to think that we had a very, very small hand in shaping that trade. But anyway, we should probably move on. This has been a long time to talk about one player. But yeah, super cool trade.
I would like to bring up one
point.
more thing. Where do you guys think Julio ranks all time?
Oh, right. I've got him at probably 6th. I think you got to have Jerry Rice is probably Jerry Rice is number one. I would say. Yeah. Moss, Theo. I have Lance Allworth in the top 5, and Don Hudson.
I think I remember you talking about that.
Lance Allworth made like so many All-Pro teams in a row, and I feel like adjusting for era is what you've got to do. Otherwise, you're just going to have all 2010s players.
Yeah, isn't Don Hudson the name of the guy out of Cars?
That's Doc Hudson. That's Doc Hudson.
Close enough.
The Hudson Hornet. That's Doc. Don Hudson is the Packers guy who invented wide receiver. So I feel like I've got to put him up there.
Sounds like you're biased.
And then,
but okay, are you putting Julio above Calvin?
Yeah, I think I would. I think I would put Julio above Calvin. Just a prolonged.
You'll probably get some hate for that, but I
might, but I don't know. I think they're similar. I think Julio had just a more prolonged stretch of excellence that Calvin didn't. I mean, I'm not saying Calvin didn't have a prolonged stretch of excellence, but I think Julio had a longer one, and I don't think the peak was really substantially any different. And Julio's still going, so I think I would give Julio an edge over Calvin. I think I would give him an edge over Antonio Brown all time, even though Antonio Brown has more All-Pros. I just feel like I'd rather have Julio for the entirety of his career in the prime. That's a little bit of a different destruction.
Just based off Antonio Brown's antics alone, I don't think he's top 10.
Oh, I think he's top 10. Oh,
really?
He made 4 All-Pro teams. He was ridiculous. And yeah, I would have him
his
top
peak,
10.
don't get me wrong,
solidly.
he was like the best receiver in the NFL without a doubt. But
yeah, I don't know. But I would have him at after those 5 that I named, I'd put him at probably 6 right after that.
Fair.
Maybe I'm missing something.
No, I feel that's pretty fair. I don't love doing all-time rankings because I'll be real with you. I haven't watched a ton of Don Hudson film, admittedly.
It's not about that. For all time, I think it's more about I don't know about accolades. Yeah, I like accolades matter, longevity. So you kind of got to combine it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything. Yeah. But he's somewhere in that 10 to 5 range or whatever.
Yeah.
He's top 10 for sure.
Yeah, I've got him at 6. That's where I would put him. I'd put him as the 6th best receiver of all time.